Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is Beyond 22 Basketball. My name is Terrence Oglesby. I have Faxon Childress here with me. He's in the back. He's making his way to his spot right over there on the couch. Tigers finally got back on the winning way. They finally got back to their winning ways. Let me simplify for myself the way they simplified on defense. All they did was pick up their effort on the large part oh goodness, I'm going to have to start the whole thing over here in a second if I don't get it together. For the most part, they simplified the game. They took too many threes offensively, couldn't hit shots to save their life, but they gritted it out. This was a Clemson grit game, a highly competitive game, and Carlik Jones, they held him 4 of 14 from the field. David Johnson was held in check for the most part as well. Faxon is here. He just sat down. Faxon, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. You know, Tigers got a really good win last night, and excited to go over that. And what else happened in the ACC, because there was a pretty eventful week in the ACC, some shaking up in the standings.
A lot going on, a lot going on. We're also going to do a week in review, and then we also have Faxon Childress's Underrated Guy of the Week. He picked a good one this week from a program that produces a lot more professional basketball players than one would think in the immediate. So, without further ado, Clemson won a good one. Louisville, very well coached, Chris Mack, very talented, playing without Malik Williams, who is one of the most important pieces to a team in the conference, because he is able to do so much with the ball as far as blocking shot, as far as knocking down shots, passing a little bit, has some guard skills at standing at about 7 feet. They really miss him, and they have some really good guards as well. But I turned on the game last night about 4 minutes in because I had to put the kids to bed. I'm not going to lie, 9 o'clock start, they'll throw you off, Fax, especially with your father. But I had to put the kids to bed. I got back to see. I saw 2 possessions. I knew Clemson was going to win the game. Why do you think that was?
Because Clemson was engaged on defense early and often. You know, first 10 minutes of the game, I think Clemson only gave up 10 points. And just seeing Clemson get bombarded from 3 by 3 consecutive games from Virginia, Georgia Tech, and FSU, coming out engaged on the defensive end, forcing difficult shots. I think 2 of the first 3 possessions were shot clock violations. Clemson was ready to play, and it showed very early in this game.
The defensive activity for this team, as we have it pulled up here, you're going to be able to see just the first couple of pages, or the first couple of possessions, and how active they were, not just on the ball, but off. Look at the activity level. Hunter Tyson on the ball doing a nice job getting up in Slazinski and really pressuring the basketball. And then Alamir Dawes chasing hard and working over screens against Carlik Jones. He did a really nice job against Louisville's best player, quite frankly. Not only Louisville's best player, probably one of the better players in the conference.
Yes, and I was really impressed by Alamir Dawes on the defensive end all night. And Brad just said he pretty much passed with flying covers in the post-game presser. Alamir was up in Carlik Jones all night, forcing it. And even when Carlik did get his shots off, the shot quality was difficult, and that's why he did not shoot very efficiently, especially for his standards. So Alamir did a good job of staying in front of him and contesting shots all night long. And
that's not just Alamir. That is his teammates being really active and stunning at the basketball, which you're going to see here coming up. So look at the activity. John Newman, excellent job. Look at Clyde's positioning, and he's engaged. He's in a stance. He's looking at the ball. He knows where his guy is. Look at the physicality Amir's playing with. Alamir Dawes in the right spot. This team was engaged from the get-go, and as you see, look at them move as a unit. And look at this ball screen coverage. Look at the activity. Look with how much aggression Amir was able to come out with. This was a different Amir Sims. We haven't seen this Amir Sims since before the COVID break. The energy, the effort, the emotion, quite frankly, is what I've been missing more than anything. He was excellent all night defensively. You're going to see a couple of clips now, but look at Hunter Tyson, correct position. John Newman sliding down because he knows the ball's going away from him in a pick-and-roll situation. Everybody being active. Look at the stunts. Good job by Hunter covering the roll. John Newman chips as well. They're covered in the corner. Not a whole lot of floor spacing by Louisville. Good defense keeping him in front. And he's going to force a difficult shot. Stays straight up. That was the first play of the game. I mean, and as soon as that happens, you have to feel good about your chances because they haven't had that sort of effort past the ring.
And like you said, Amir Sims was engaged on defense all night long, did a fantastic job of hedging out on the screens for the Louisville ball handlers, and really good job of getting back in his spot as well. And I thought probably deserved a couple blocked shots that they were clean and he got called for on some suspect foul calls. But he played a fantastic game. I know he had, like, I think 16, 9, and 4, and you look at that and you're like, oh, he had 16 and 9, but really played better on defense than he did on offense in this game.
And I feel like I need to say this. Hunter Tyson, if he doesn't get hurt against Alabama, he's probably in the running for most improved player in the conference. He has been fantastic whenever he has been healthy, and whenever he's gotten elongated minutes and been comfortable when he's been in there. Hunter Tyson, you got to be happy with his progress. Shooting above 40% from three, he's really been good. But that was an excellent first possession to start out. This is a few minutes later, and the intensity continued to pick up. This is about 4 minutes in. You're right before the media timeout. Look at the activity on the ball. Look at how alert Amir is. He's chased him all the way up to the Founders logo. When they were playing against Georgia Tech, and a lot of people won't agree with me on this, he wasn't coming all the way up and maintaining contact. He was staying back here and covering and calling screens and things of that nature. He wasn't showing that type of aggressiveness. He wasn't showing that type of initiative to stay up and pester not only the ball, but the guys behind him.
And you could tell, even with Amir, the whole team wanted it last night, and that was the difference in what we've seen. And we talked a lot about last week on the show about the little things with Clemson basketball, communication on defense, and we saw the first 10 games Clemson last night. We saw communication and effort on defense throughout the night, and just really high IQ on both sides of the ball, and Tigers got another ranked win on their resume. So fantastic job on defense all night.
Yeah, I'm not sure Louisville's a ranked team right now. I'm not sure how you feel about that, but I'm not sure they're a ranked team right now. But we'll get into that.
Technically a ranked team.
Technically a ranked win, so a quad 2, if you will. But look at the activity. Look at John Newman. Good activity, finds the sink guy. Look at all this. Clyde could probably do a better job of finding it. Hunter could probably do a better job of maintaining contact on the roll guy. But forcing a difficult pass. Look at the effort on the closeout. Closes out short, closes out low. Talked a little bit about this on the radio prior. You can afford against Louisville, because they don't shoot it as well as the past 3 teams, you can afford to close out a little bit short. Good scouting report work by Hunter. And this is huge. This is so much bigger than I think people realize. Activity off the ball. They didn't have this against Georgia Tech. They didn't have this against Florida State. They didn't have this against, who else was it? Help me out. Virginia. They didn't have that. The stunts were not there. They weren't active. There wasn't a ton of energy happening. This game in particular, they had that. Excellent job by Clyde, and just another post situation, forcing a tough shot. And it's not so much that they got close to the rim. It's not so much that they get offensive rebounds. It's the manner in which they competed. I knew right away Clemson's going to be in for a good ball game. This isn't going to be another one of these blowout games, because they're going to compete the entire 40 minutes. Now, whether they shoot the ball well or not, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, Clemson did struggle from beyond the arc and from the field in this game, but I feel like that was overshadowed by their excellent defensive effort. And with the personnel on the team and what Clemson has proven throughout the year so far and what they've done, this is going to be a defensive team. This is never going to be a team that's going to score in the 80s or 90s to win games. And when you're engaged on defense, it's a lot easier to be better on offense. You know, we saw Clemson do some stuff that they haven't done these past couple weeks, like get out on the break for some fast break buckets. I think John Newman had a steal and got out there, and it was just an overall sound defensive effort from the Tigers. And it was really encouraging to see after 3, what would be nice to say, lackluster performances in a row.
Yeah, and do you have the stats from last night's game? Shooting-wise, Clemson just couldn't find ways to knock shots in, but they were getting open ones. And somebody posed this question to me during the break, and I think we have it written down. But we talked about the sheer amount of threes that Clemson took as opposed to twos was significant. And Louisville makes it that way. Louisville plays defense a lot like Miami. It's almost like Virginia as far as a pack line is concerned, but not necessarily that much help side. But they make you play over the top. You're going to have to hit shots against the Cardinals, because Chris Mack really has those guys packing the lane. And he has a lot of size to where some of these guards, they're going to have to shoot over the top of really long athletes. Do you have those stats?
I do have the stats, and I have the official question, which came from the Sluggo podcast. They said, was taking 35 threes and 18 twos by design or a fluke due to matchup? And you kind of just touched on that about how Louisville plays defense. Clemson shot 19 of 53 from the field, which is 35%, and 7 of 35 from 3, which is 20%.
It's still too many. I mean, I don't want to sit here and be like, well, that you got to take what the defense gives you. But at the same time, you have to be able to force the action a little bit. You need to find more post touches for Amir Sims. One of the biggest plays of the game was his and one opportunity whenever he was able to post up deep. I think it was against J.J. Traynor, where he posted him up really deep, got an and one. Where was that the entire game? The floor spacing was actually pretty good, especially on that possession. Tigers need to find a way to get the ball inside more, and I think they could utilize P.J. Hall a little bit more there as well.
Yeah, and I do have an interesting stat, which I found kind of weird. The bench unit for Clemson, all of the bench players, they took 1, 2, and 12 threes, and the bench unit was 0 for 12 from 3.
That should never happen.
So the bench unit took 13 shots, 12 of which were threes, and they did not make a 3. The bench was 1 of 14 or 1 of 13 last night.
Yeah, and that's an issue. I mean, this has been a prevalent thing for Clemson over the last 4 games. They haven't been able to get to the free throw line. They are settling for jump shots. And where does that come from? You need to have some kind of aggressiveness. Clyde Trapp is taking it to the hole. John Newman's taking it to the hole, but they're stopping short for floaters. Go up there and force the action. Make the refs make a call. Sometimes you're going to get a charge. That's part of it. But you have to find a way to be a little bit more aggressive to get to the foul line. Because this team shoots the ball pretty well from the free throw line. I want to say somewhere close to 73%.
Yeah, and, Amir is so dominant at times in the post when he gets the touches that I feel like he needs to be getting every game. I mean, the first couple possessions of the game last night, I think he took, I think it was Withers down low, 2 possessions in a row, and went to his hook both times and got it both times. And obviously, we were talking about the and one at the end of the game, which was crucial. I just have to think from an outsider's perspective, and I know you've been saying it too, that Amir Sims needs more paint touches because when he's down there and he can get to his spots, he's really hard to stop. One of the best players in the conference.
And even though he's undersized, he still finds ways to get shots off over top of big guys. You saw it against NC State when he was playing against Manny Harris. You've seen it against other teams. Purdue, for example, he's still able to get shots off inside the paint despite being undersized.
He had 25 points against Purdue playing against a 7'4" guy. Even with his when he transitions to his next level of basketball, he'll be considered a 4, but he's playing the 5 for this team, and I would say he's pretty much outplayed every other big man he's played this year, maybe 1 or 2 exceptions.
And people are wondering why he's playing the 5. He's playing the 5 because that's where he's most effective. Yeah. I mean, he's most effective using his quickness, using his strength, getting into the post and playing against bigger guys and using leverage. That's what he's good at. They need to take advantage of him a little bit more. And not to mention, I feel like P.J. Hall, he has struggled on defense, and the pick and roll is such an incredibly important part of today's game. But at the same time, that's how you get better. You got to throw him out there a little bit. I don't know that he's as big a liability as a lot of people are starting to believe.
Yeah, and I could segue that into another question that we received, and this is from Richard Edwards, and he said, are you concerned about P.J. Hall's playing time? In my opinion, he has to get more than 6 minutes per game.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see P.J. play about 10 to 12, because there's a couple of factors the reason I say that. One is you got to get him on the floor because he's one of the highest rated recruits in the history of Clemson basketball. And 2, he gives you some good things offensively. And you have to let him work through those things. You can't just park him over there because he can't do one thing. What does he do well? That's kind of been my thing. What does PJ do well? He provides an inside post presence. He can score over either shoulder, and he works his butt off on defensively. Could he get better? Sure. But how's he going to get better if he's not in there?
Yeah, and I would definitely agree. This is the highest rated recruit of the Brownell era, the second highest ever behind Milton Jennings. And PJ is a very good offensive player. We saw it in the Space Coast Classic at the first couple games when he was getting more minutes due to some foul trouble from some big men, some injuries as well. And when he can get to that baseline jumper and knock it down 7 times out of 10, and he's got a really good post touch as well. It's like you're saying, I would personally like to see him in that 10 to 12 minute range. I think he has a lot to provide on that end of the floor, and he's only going to, like you said, he's only going to get better on defense if you throw him out there. And it's not like he doesn't try. He's trying. You can tell he's trying, and he's trying to be in the right spots. It's just he's a freshman and he's young, and he's going to get there.
Yeah, he's not the same player as like a Trey Jemison, who's super big and really struggled to move. PJ can get
PJ's
there,
athletic,
but you have to get him out there in order to cover ball screens, in order to get that in-game experience. And he's not going to kill you when he's in there. Could it be better? Sure, but it's kind of like Alex Hemingway. Could his defense be better? Sure, but he's not out there killing you. He's in the right position. He's doing some things. Maybe he'll mess up a time or two, but the things he brings you other ways, I thought Hemingway played really well. You got to put PJ in those spots too.
And I would segue this into just a personal question, which was, I know Omax is hurt right now, but Omax was getting more minutes than PJ prior to injury. What are your thoughts on that, and what do you think he provides in Brownell's eyes that PJ doesn't?
Well, PJ's a 5, so you got to think about rotations.
He's coming in for Amir.
PJ's coming in for Amir to where Omax is coming in for Jonathan Baer. So it kind of works some different ways there. And Omax, to be honest, he could slide over and play some 3. He's got a little bit more positional versatility than PJ does.
Are you surprised that we haven't seen a PJ and Amir line up for an extended period of time so far this year?
I don't think they would play well together.
You don't think so?
No, because they're good at the same things.
Yeah.
And they're both okay shooters. Amir's a good three-point shooter. He hasn't shot it from 3. I don't know what his stats were this game from 3, but I know the previous 3 he was 0 of the world.
He was 1 for 4 last game.
He was 1 of 4 last night. Prior to that, the 3 losses, he hasn't been very good from 3, but they kind of do the same things well. They both have to guard a 5. Amir, as much as you want him to guard a 4, he's much better off guarding a 5 because he's strong. He can hold guys off, and he can use his quickness there. His quickness is not an advantage playing the 4. So Omax, because he has that positional versatility, you can play him in a couple different spots to where PJ, he's pretty much got to play the 5.
Right. Okay, yeah, that was all I had to say about
that's
that.
all you got?
Yeah, I was just asking you.
Yeah, but shooting the ball has been a bit of a strange thing for me. Like, Chase Hunter should be a better shooter. Nick Honor should be a better shooter. Like, I don't know what the hang-up is because I know they're shooting. I know they're getting shots up. Is it a confidence thing? Is it – I almost venture to guess it's a confidence thing because – and I will say this. Their teammates need to do a better job of giving good passes to shooters. Have you ever heard the phrase, passer makes the shooter?
Yeah.
It is so true in so many things. There's very few players that can make bad passes. A lot of players can make bad passes, but make shots off a bad pass. That's a significant helper to when it comes to, are you ready to shoot? Are your feet set? Are you ready to go? Passer makes the shooter. There were a lot of passes last night that went to Nick Honor that went way over his head. Now, he's not very big, but it was Alamir Dawes passing it to him.
Yeah.
Alamir Dawes is knocking down threes because he's catching them in the chest. It's a significant factor. Clemson could afford to be a better passing team to set up their teammates.
Who do you think, if you just had to go in blind, the top 3 shooters on the team percentage-wise are right now?
Hunter Tyson.
He's number 2.
Oh, wow. John Nemeth.
No.
Alamir Dawes.
No.
Who is it?
Nick is number 1 at 40%. The only person.
Nick Honor?
Yeah, the only person
well,
aside from
makes
Parker
sense.
Fox to eclipse that range, but Parker's 1 for 1. So we'll give him a shout.
We're going to give Parker respect. He does enough in practice. We're going to give Parker the
Hunter's 36% from 3, and the number 3 shooter on the team this year is Clyde Trapp at 36%.
Hey, Clyde's improved.
He has improved as a shooter, and his offensive
and he
game
was woeful his junior year. I mean, he was in the teens, and now he is healthy now, and he is taking much better shots. And he's okay with not taking as many shots, so he's not forcing the issue. But Clyde's been able to shoot it. But for the most part, what's Alex Hemingway shooting?
He's 33%, so a bit of a regression. I also think he isn't. People know now,
Yes.
okay, this dude's a sniper, and he gets doubled a lot off that elevator play they'll run for him. Like, he will get swarmed. So his shot quality has gone down. That's what I would say. The reason.
Well, that's huge. But I mean, it comes back to people ask me all the time, like, because you shoot with Alex Hemingway. Well, it's a different thing. You're going to start to see it, especially his sophomore year. People now know what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So, like, now, if you can shoot 40% now, with people doubling you off screens, making sure switching out to make sure you don't get shots off, that's a whole different ballgame. Alex is still a good shooter, but he has to let it come to him a little bit. But this team, they're taking too many threes. And that's coming from me. I love three-point shots. But Clemson's taking too many threes. They need to find a way to have a post presence, whether that's PJ, whether that's Amir. You got to find a way to get some easier ones around a basket. I'm not saying going full North Carolina to where 65, 70% of your shots are twos, because you're not built that way. But you're going to have to go at least. What was the stat? 66% of Clemson's shots were from three.
Yeah, it was the discrepancy was 35 threes to 18 twos, which is just ridiculous.
Should never happen.
It would be different if they were everyone was shooting 38% or something. Like, this is not a great shooting team if we're just being objective. So, and when you get more post touches, and especially if Amir's getting post touches early in the game, it's going to create open shots.
Yes.
He's going to get doubled. You're going to have to double Amir Sims. And he's a good passer.
He's passing out of double teams before they get there, too.
Exactly.
I think, there's a lot of times, oh, gosh, I should have cut more film, but he's passing out of double teams before those guys get there. So he's looking for those. He's seeing where they're coming.
He's a senior. He's seeing, he can see when they're doubled. And, there were multiple times last night where you saw it where he would swing to the wing and they'd swing to a corner. I think Hunter Tyson hit a corner 3-ball. So Amir's definitely taken the leap as a passer as well at the post. And that's what I'm saying.
But he's got to be a little more selfish. That's been Amir's problem.
Just give him the ball down there and let him either create for himself or create for others. And that's going to create better shot quality. Don't just stand around and dribble the ball for 17 seconds and then you look up and you're at 10 and you got to chuck a three. That's what angers me.
Yeah, it's been tough, but that's been Amir's kind of shtick the whole time. He's so unselfish, almost to a fault. But look for him to do a better job as far as being more aggressive. He was last night. They set a lot of diagonal screens for him to get open at the beginning. You could tell he wanted it, but that's the Amir you need every game. You can't just have Amir like that once every 4 games. You have to have that Amir there every game. And if he's able to do that every game, it's going to be a problem. Instead of being mentioned for these awards, which a lot of people are mentioned for the Karl Malone Award, the whatever, the Naismith Award. He's in the final 20, 25, something like that. Instead of actually just being mentioned, you have a chance at winning. The every night guys win those awards. Amir hasn't been an every night guy. I'm being a little critical right now. He hasn't been an every night guy. He could be, and he should be. But it takes a lot of energy to be an every night guy. And that's kind of his next thing. Like, can he take advantage of those situations every night as opposed to a home game against Louisville? Can he do it at Georgia Tech where there's never anybody at the game? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Can you do it when you go play in a difficult environment in Duke, which I don't care if there's nobody in there. It's still Duke. It's still weird. It's a weird place. I think
that gym's really small.
It's a small gym, and there's no backdrop. So, like, those goals hang from the roof. It's different than anywhere else. Are you still going to be able to take advantage of your opportunities and do it every night? That's my biggest qualm with Amir. He's been great. He's been great about 70% of this year. That other 30, you better still get 12 rebounds if you're not going to score, right? Anyway, soapbox is done. They won. I'm happy they won. Faxon's happy they won. But at the same time,
need to see a little more on Saturday rather at noon against Duke offensively, because as bad as Duke is on defense, Duke's going to score points regardless. They have too much talent to not score. So you're going to have to put up 70 to win that game.
Well, and you're going to get more open shots against Duke because they don't guard anybody. We were talking about Hurt before the game. He graduated from traffic cone to traffic cone with wheels now because the dude's he moves, but it ain't very fast. So that's my only qualm. We're going to move ahead because my blood pressure is going up. Good win by the Tigers. Excellent aggressiveness by Amir Sims. He carried them. I don't know how to say that any differently. He carried them. His energy carried them. I thought John Bear showed tremendous activity. John Newman was very good on defense. Hunter Tyson, like I said, if he doesn't get hurt, you're looking at probably a Most Improved Player award in conference.
I think Hunter had the reputation of a good shooter last year and the years prior. This year, he's legitimately turned into a really good shooter. Yeah. And that's when you know that he can hit from that 36, 37% clip, and then he's also your leading rebounder and giving such good effort on defense. That is just he's a toughness guy. He's completely earned his spot in the starting five, and he's going to be a crucial piece for his team going forward. I'm so glad to have a guy like him that can just kind of glue everyone together on defense. Yeah, and he always rotates well. He over-rotates. His help side. And he works so hard to get back out. Had some big-time shot blocks last night. Anyway, we're going to move forward because I'm going crazy. We do have Faxon's mid-major player of the week, and he's going to make his way up to the screen, and he got a good one. My man from Colgate. Colgate's a really good program, 5-1 on the year so far, and this gentleman, pretty tough. This week we got Jordan Burns out of Colgate. He's 6 foot, 175. This season, as you can see over there, averaging 17, 4, 6, and 2 steals almost, shooting 40% from 3. And you can see his accolades if I move over a little bit right here. This dude is two-time First Team All-Patriot League, 2-time First Team All-Patriot League tournament. He won the Patriot League tournament MVP last year, and they would have gone to the tournament last year, but COVID canceled the season. And he also put up 32 against Tennessee in a 2-15 matchup in 2018 in the NCAA tournament. They lost that game by 4 points. He gave a heroic effort, almost got him there. And Clemson actually played this Colgate team last year, I'm pretty sure, and Burns had a pretty good game in that game as well, so definitely familiar with him.
Yeah, an excellent player. Coach Matt Langle, fun fact, went to Wharton School of Business and graduated from Penn, was a really good player at Penn. He's been at Colgate over 10 seasons. He's a guy to keep an eye on for job opportunities. Coached over 20 professionals at one level or another. This guy's going to be a pro. This is a good pick. Scoring bunches, and he gets it for everybody else too. Yeah, Colgate's an interesting area.
Yeah, they're actually a really good team. Like I said, they would have made the tournament last year as well. Made the tournament in 2018. They currently sit atop the Patriot League, tied with Navy. So I'm hoping that we can get Jordan in another NCAA tournament this year and maybe give him another 30 bomb on a national stage to get himself some more recognition. He's definitely going to end up, if he's not in the league, he'll play overseas somewhere for sure.
Well, he kind of has that mold of guys that, make a good living for themselves overseas. A little undersized, can really get buckets, ultra quick. Yeah. And when you come from a good program, and Coach Matt Langle obviously does a great job. He's going to be well coached, and he's going to know how to guard. But those guys make a lot of money. Guys, small guards that can score a lot of points. That's Terrell McIntyre. Yeah, he's a lot richer than we are. That's for sure. Thank you, Faxon. Good pick. Good pick. I love Colgate. I think it's a great I think it's a great school. It's definitely they're definitely well coached, and they've gotten some continuity with Langle being there for so long. He does an excellent job with those guys. So interesting week in ACC hoops. Duke got back on the wagon. So I want to go over those scores a little bit. Can we do that, Fax?
I think we can. I hope that this Duke win doesn't spark them into thinking that they have some unknown confidence going into Saturday, because I think that's a game Clemson should win.
Well, as you can see, I have all the scores shown up here. I didn't put them in right order, but Duke did beat Georgia Tech 75-68. They are playing better, and Matthew Hurt has been superb offensively. You know when I was saying he was giving up 30, or he was scoring 30 and giving up 35? I'm not sure that's the case, because he's shooting above 50% from the field, above 45% from three, on a good number of attempts now. It's not like he's shy about it.
He can play offense.
Oh, it's fantastic, but he is going to get ripped apart at the next level defensively, but a high-level scorer, if he can improve defensively. I will say this about Duke. The fact that they went zone is something to be said about this team this year. A couple of years ago when they went R.J. Barrett, Zion, Cam Reddish, they went a lot of zone. Tyus Jones. That team had 4 guys playing above 32 minutes. Those 4 that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
They had to play zone to keep those guys on the floor.
Yeah, they were playing zone for conservation.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between this team going zone and that team going zone. Zion could have played man-to-man defense. I don't think I'm fooling anybody.
Camp could play defense too.
Yeah, Cam Reddish could play man-to-man defense. R.J. Barrett, there's nothing wrong with his defense. They had Jack White, solid defender as well. This team is different. He threw in the white flag as opposed to being like, hey, I got to keep these guys healthy.
Because, the first couple games of the season, you're giving up 80 a game to these teams that you were predicted to beat. Like, I think Duke was preseason number 4. And then you kind of got to go, like, you got to be honest with yourself. If you're K and you're thinking, okay, well, Matthew Hurt can't defend. And you're looking at Stewart and Roach. They're not playing any defense either. So I don't think that he had another option. I think they would have genuinely lost this game to Georgia Tech and given up 80+ if they would have been playing man-to-man defense. Alvarado and DeVoe would have feasted on their guards. Feasted.
Well, that's the thing. DeVoe didn't play well, and they played zone the whole time.
Yeah.
Like you said. So Alvarado played really well. 26, 4 and 5 assists, 4 boards, 5 assists. He's played really well. Good. He's been unbelievable. He's first team. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. He's first team. Georgia Tech is really good. It's a tough place to play at Duke, obviously, even with nobody there. But Jalen Johnson, he's starting to come back alive, and they're starting to run some more things through him. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Why wouldn't you run more things through Jalen Johnson? They started doing that, and then what happened? Jalen Johnson at Pitt went for 26, 12, and 7.
Yeah, him and Champagne, he duked it out. That was a really good matchup to watch.
Yeah. And he works. It works better that way. This Duke team is different than some of their stud teams in the past. They're not physically mature. Jalen Johnson, even though he's a freak athlete, he's not big and strong like Zion. He's not big and strong like R.J. Barrett. But DJ Stewart's small. Roach is small. Goldwire's not. He's just not a Duke player. He's tough like a Duke player. They always seem to have a guy like that. But talent-wise, he's not there compared to the rest of them. It's just this team is not. I think next year, if they're able to keep a lot of those guys.
If Goldwire came back and, like, depending the draft status of Roach specifically and Seward, they could be a lot better of a team next year, but I don't see them. I mean, right now, they're a fringe tournament team, in my opinion. They're not as bad as Kentucky, but they've got a lot of flaws that they got to work out, and I think this is a team Clemson is better than. Just speaking objectively, I think Clemson's better.
Yeah. Pitt lost to Carolina, which isn't shocking. They say matchup makes the game. This matchup in particular, Carolina is huge along the front line. That's where Pitt's not great. Caleb Love's starting to play better. R.J. Davis is starting to play better. This Carolina team, kind of like we were talking, once we start getting into February, they're going to become a problem because Caleb Love is really talented. R.J. Davis is really talented. And those big guys, they hit Pitt where they hurt, and that's inside. Champagne, as good as he's been on the boards, and he still had a good game. He still had 23 and 10, but it wasn't 30 and 15, 18.
He's sleeping well regardless.
He's still sleeping well.
He got his double-double. He's sleeping well. He's like, all right, I'm cruising to the player of the year right now. But as a Clemson fan, I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't pissed that we didn't get North Carolina on their down, and now they're coming up. I think they've won 4 of their last 5 games, something along those lines. And now we got to play them in Littlejohn next week, next Tuesday. And I really just wish we played them and did not have those COVID cases, because this is a lot better of a team right now than it was a month ago. And this North Carolina team,
a switch flipped.
They've gotten scary all of a sudden. They went from, okay, Clemson should beat this team, to where, like, I think the line in Vegas, it might even be UNC favored going into Littlejohn. So definitely going to be an interesting matchup that I'm not exactly looking forward to now.
Well, Armando Bacot, we talked to Champagne, 23-10. Bacot went 21-10 as well, and then that's not even counting Brooks and Kessler and Sharp. I really like Sharp personally.
Black's good too.
Yeah, Leaky Black's been okay. He hasn't been great, but he's been okay. But I like this Carolina team. Those guards are going to figure it out. They're too talented not to.
Yep.
It took a while, and Roy threw them to the gauntlet with their scheduling at the beginning of the year, but they're going to start to figure it out, and they're going to be able to challenge for the ACC championship, as happy as that makes you, Faxon.
Despicable. Really despicable.
All right, Florida State, Miami. Florida State put a hurting on Miami. I don't see how they right the ship. They just lost Matt Cross, who left the program, who was a very good freshman player, 6'8", 225 pounds, shooting the ball incredibly well, above 40%, got sick of it and just went home. I don't know what happened or why it happened, but it's a huge loss, because that is a quality floor spacer for the Canes that don't have many.
Miami's a dumpster fire right now. There's no other way to put it. I mean, everyone's injured. You got players leaving the program. They've gotten blown out in like 3 straight games now. I just don't even – this was a team that was projected by most people in the top half of the ACC minimum. You're thinking, okay, you got Likes, McGusty, Cross, and really good coach Larinaga, and this is just not panning out for them this year as it was supposed to be.
No, I wonder if Likes comes back. I'm curious to see how he's able to manage with this extra year given. I mean, he's going to be a super senior if he comes back. He's going to be in the Skalski mode. It seems like he's been there forever, but like it's tough. Isaiah Wong's played well. He had 21 points and 3 assists. I mean,
they've got good players even with all these injuries and stuff. It's just like it's not enough.
They don't shoot it well.
They don't. They're not a great shooting team at all. But I mean, you got McGusty and Likes out, and Cross was a good shooter as well. And I mean, Clemson should inquire about seeing if they can get him. He'd be great.
He can transfer in conference or no?
He
would be a great fit at Clemson.
Was he a transfer or?
No, he was a freshman. He went directly there, and now he's transferred out.
I
don't know exactly what's going to happen.
If he can come to Clemson, I would, just seeing based off how he played in that Clemson game, I would accept him with open arms.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's going to have to transfer out of conference in order to play right away, so that'll push him. He reminds me of somebody that'll play at Villanova.
Yeah,
somebody who shoots it well, got good size, can guard multiple positions. He has Villanova screaming all over him, not to mention he's from the Boston area. That is a huge loss. But Florida State, what is there to say? They look good. They guard everybody. They switch everything. They're long, they're athletic, they're talented, they shoot it. Raekwon Evans is a stud. Scotty Barnes is too. Next game, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame. Notre Dame, I'm a little confused at what's going on. They cannot get a win.
I told you they were terrible, man.
I don't understand.
I don't know what they were favored in this game, as weird as that is.
Really?
Pre-game line closed at Notre Dame -1, so they were favored by a point. It's pretty much a pick 'em, but it showed that Vegas doesn't trust Virginia Tech on the road after that embarrassing Syracuse performance.
A little bit like you. You don't trust Virginia Tech at all.
Virginia Tech is the most sketchy team because they'll go out against Syracuse and they'll get blown out by 20, and then they'll have a really good defensive showing without their best player, which is a weird situation now that I don't know if we've addressed on the show, but Tyrese Radford has taken a leave from the team apparently.
Did you see what happened?
I did not see.
Got a DUI and had a gun in the car. That's not me reporting news. That was reported, I think, in the Blacksburg Times or something like that. So,
well, I did not know the details.
Yeah,
so
is
he done for the year, I'm assuming?
I would assume so. I don't see how in the world you bring him back. But you want to talk about a massive blow.
I mean, that's their best player.
Yeah.
And that dude does everything for that team. Defense, rebounding, scoring inside, passing. So Virginia Tech looked good in this game against Notre Dame. Not sold on them going forward without Tyrese. It is what it is.
Well, he was such a good player defensively. He was only 6'2", but he played the 4 for them.
Yeah.
He was a good screener. He got the ball. He attacked the rim. He was unbelievable attacking the rim. Just a different type of athlete and a real dog.
And he had some ridiculous finishes against Clemson in that loss. Clemson got it down to 2 in that Virginia Tech game, and Radford went for a reverse layup over 2 people and got it to go for the dagger in that game. So that's definitely a blow for them.
I will say this, Nate Laszewski, I called it. I knew he was going to be good, and he's been good. He's been really good. But Prentice Hubbs for Notre Dame obviously played well, 22 points, 4 boards, 3 assists. But Justin Mutz has also stepped up in the absence of Tyrese Radford. He had 14 points, 11 boards, which he hasn't gotten that much tick because of Radford.
Yeah.
But Radford's going to hurt. He just played so hard all the time, never shut it off. Wake Forest, NC State. NC State wins.
Wake Forest.
Wake Forest is right there.
They're the king of the cover, man. They cover every game. They're a quality lot. Like, you can tell that they are talent. I'm not trying to be offensive to any of the players on the team, but they are a Steve Forbes level recruiting class, and him with the players he wants in his scheme that are a little more talented away from being a really good team in the ACC in probably 2 or 3 years on the road. If you're a Wake fan, these losses suck now, but you've got a lot to look forward to going forward.
Well, he's generating excitement. He's keeping games close. He's got his guys playing incredibly hard and unselfish, and they have one of the best young pieces in the country in Carter Witt, who's going to stay for a long time. He's not one of these one-and-done guys. He's a 4-year guy, and he makes teammates better. And that's going to help you recruit some of these stud athletes at the 2 and 3 positions.
That Forbes wants.
Yeah, and Carolina has plenty of, or North Carolina has plenty of those. South Carolina, not as much. South Carolina, as far as recruiting, is very top-heavy.
Yeah.
North Carolina has a lot, and you're going to be able to start getting some of those kids to play with Carter Witt and kind of set a precedent of what you're going to get recruiting-wise. King of the cover, Wake Forest Demon Deacons, they're pretty good.
They are. They're I think they're better than Notre Dame. I think they're better than Notre Dame. I don't see how you put Notre Dame over them after these past couple performances. I mean, I know Notre Dame, the scoreline looks close. That game was never really close, and like Wake Forest is just playing at a higher level, in my opinion. I think they're playing at a higher level.
Yeah, and Davion Williamson transferred from East Tennessee State, who's got several years left. He was good, 22 points, 2 boards. Devin Daniels had 20 points, but left early. I'm not sure what the injury situation was, but left early on crutches. Hopefully it's nothing too bad. If he gets hurt for the Wolfpack, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be tough. We did have several questions this week, Faxon. I'm going to let you take it away. I think we're going to end up talking back about Clemson hoops again, get my blood pressure all the way up. So.
Well, we've already used up 2 of these questions previously, but we still got 3 or 4 more. First one coming from Ethan on Twitter. He says, after last night's game, are you convinced that the 3 straight losses were flukes due to COVID?
No. They weren't flukes. Look, this team is what it is. I mean, we know.
The team needs to try.
They need to play harder. That's part of it. But you also have to have the mental toughness to play hard every game. And that was obviously not there. Obviously, you break your rhythm, but they started to get that back. This is not a team that's going to shoot astronomical percentages from 3. The last 3 games prior to this win, 3-ball wasn't falling. Last year, this was an interesting stat that I heard today on the radio. Last year, what do you think Clemson's 3-point percentage was?
I'm going to guess 33%?
31.5%.
Okay.
What is it this year?
31.5%?
31.
Yeah.
This team is what it is. Nick Honor's going to help, and they're going to shoot it a little bit better, but they've got to find ways. They've got to find ways to get better opportunities, and they need to get better passers. They need to become better passers. When they were shooting the ball well at the beginning of the year, they had better passers. Amir was able to create things because he was more aggressive towards the basket. And whenever he's more aggressive towards the basket, trying to get his own thing, then his unselfishness shines because he is a good passer. Hasn't found those opportunities here lately.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would describe it as a fluke, but it probably seemingly was 3 flukes in a row, which is weird just because of the precedent Clemson had set. But we talked about on this show that everything that Clemson was doing wrong was fixable. And we saw that last night on the defensive end. They were engaged all night, and they gave up 50 points to a good Louisville team. So defensive issues appear to be fixed for the time being. We'll see on Saturday.
Yeah, I want to caution that right there. The only reason I'm going to say that is because the other teams.
Yeah.
So like Virginia, Kihei Clark doesn't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
An excellent player. Doesn't turn the ball over. Clemson thrives when they're able to turn other teams over and then turn those into offense. That's where they thrive. That's where Nick Honor gets. To be honest with you, that's where Nick Honor gets a lot of his 3-point attempts. Is whenever he gets steals, or whenever his team gets steals, and then he's able to run the floor, and then they find him. Look at the big shot against NC State. You remember that one?
Yeah.
Like that's where they're the best. Whenever he's able to run and find spots, not necessarily in a half court. Who do they play next? Georgia Tech, Princeton offense. Jose Alvarado not turning it over. Mike DeVoe not turning it over. Bubba Parham not turning it over. So they had trouble with guards that could really take care of the ball. Then they run Florida State. Turnovers weren't such an issue. They played okay defense, but shot the ball bad. This team is what it is. They need to find ways to pressure elite guards.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, Georgia Tech's a top 5 team in this conference.
You think so?
I think so. With those guards, if nobody gets hurt, I think that's a big caveat. If nobody gets hurt, because they're only 7 deep. But then you have Virginia, Yeah, Florida State, those are the top 2 teams in the conference. I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
Those are the top 2 teams in the conference. And then you have Georgia Tech with 2 elite guards that don't turn it over. And Moses Wright, who had a field day because some guys weren't playing very hard. So you run into a bit of a buzzsaw, and you're not able to force turnovers.
When you look at Clemson's other loss, like if you want to go down the elite guard train, Tyrese Radford, I know he played the 4, but him, Jalen Cone. I mean, every game that Clemson has lost.
Wabisa Bede,
yeah,
who never turns the ball over, was one of the top players in the country, assist-to-turnover ratio. You have to turn guys over, and they haven't been able to do it against elite guards.
Yeah, Clemson isn't turning over these elite guards, the upper echelon teams of the ACC, and that's why, Clemson, 9-1 to start the season, number 12 team in the country. We're looking like one of the best teams in the ACC, and that's why I would agree with you from the standpoint that it wasn't a fluke, is because they have struggled against these elite guards, and that needs to be. They need to find a way to rectify that going forward if they're going to compete later in the season in postseason play.
Yeah, I'm in a complete agreement. So, no, I don't think it was a fluke at all. I think this is the team you are. You need to find out how to generate some offense against teams that don't turn it over. I think that's a legitimate concern. And quite frankly, if this team's going to be as good as what you hoped it to be, and I picked them at 7th, you picked them higher, 5th.
I had 6.
You had 6th. If you want them to be that level of team, they have to shoot 34% from 3. You can't shoot 30% from 3. And you can't take so many. And the reason they're not shooting good percentage, they're taking contested threes.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because it's a lot of settling. There's a lot of settling on the offensive side of the ball, and you don't want to see that ever. You want to see your guys go into the paint, and a lot of that is just initiative. You got to get the ball, you got to go to the paint. And we had a question that I could segue that into, which is KC from the Sluggo podcast, and he said, why is Clyde Trapp and John Newman the only 2 players attacking the rim? Clemson isn't getting to the free throw line as often as they seemingly should.
Well, that second part's definitely true.
Yeah.
I think,
Clyde has done a fantastic job of attacking the rim, in my
opinion.
Well,
he has. But he's also the reason that, the reason he's not getting to the free throw line is because he's stopping and shooting floaters. Yeah. John Newman's getting in there not to dunk anymore, but he's getting in there to pitch out.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of that's practice and what they've become accustomed to doing in practice. But those 2 in particular have done a very nice job. Alamir Dawes could do a better job of getting in there. I was sitting there thinking, which guards can get into the paint for Clemson on their own consistently without help?
Nick?
Maybe. He plays off. He plays in pick-and-roll situations.
Alamir can create for himself, but he also isn't I feel like he drove a lot more to the basket last year, and he's settling for jumpers more this year. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. He shot 4 of 8 from 3 last night, but I'm saying that for this year, for whatever reason, I feel like Alamir is settling for jumpers more than going to the basket.
Well, I think Al can. He just doesn't, or he hasn't this year.
Yeah.
Clyde can a little bit.
Clyde's his burst
He's been much better this year. His burst is much better.
You can see that that a lot of the struggles last year for Clyde were just health related, and he's really developed as a player, in my opinion, this year. He took the leap offensively. He's gotten better in every aspect of offense, so I'm definitely proud of him.
John Newman does it. He gets there.
Yeah.
Yeah, those 3. And then you got to set up offenses for Amir to get the ball in the post. I think that last play, wherever he got that and one, why is that only being used once a game?
Just give him the ball down there.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Just give him the ball down there. And, it's not even Amir's fault. He's working for it down there. They're just not getting him the ball. You can just see from a viewer's perspective, there were multiple times last night where he was getting fronted out of the paint, when he was fighting for the ball down there. And, PJ will go in there, and he'll look for it, too. But they just need to get more paint touches that are dangerous. They can't just throw it down there to throw it down there and then pitch it right back out to someone that doesn't have any chance to shoot the ball.
Part of that is Amir's fault, and part of that's, for example, Clyde doesn't make great entry passes, especially right when he gets there. He holds on to it a little bit long. So, Amir can afford to stop closer to the rim, but whenever he's getting back screens, like last night, they gave him some diagonal screens to get the ball in the post. He was catching him out 15 feet as opposed to stopping on the block, and that's an extra
From
dribble.
11, yeah.
Yeah, and that's an extra dribble. So, it's a lot harder for him to make something happen off 3 dribbles than it is for 2 dribbles. The best players in the NBA, besides James Harden, he doesn't count, but the best players in the NBA throughout the course of history, maybe not so much now, but throughout the course of history, could do more with less dribbles.
Yeah.
And it's because you're less likely to turn it over, and you're more likely to make the right decision.
You can get to your spot, and you don't have to dribble. You can either make a pass or make a shot.
Yep.
I'm in agreement.
Better players use less dribbles. Besides James Harden, he doesn't count. He's an anomaly. No college player is James Harden, or they wouldn't be in college.
Yeah.
So there you go. We're talking about college hoops, all right?
Yeah.
Questions? Anything else?
Yes, we have one more question, which was, from CTC Milkman on Twitter.
The Milkman.
He says, "Do you think the ACC tournament will happen this year?"
Yes.
I'm in agreement.
I don't see how it doesn't happen. There's too much.
There's too much money involved.
There's too much at stake. So I think there's a lot of COVID fatigue.
Yeah.
I think people are ready for this to happen. I think people, for the most part,
I
think the coaches are comfortable. Now, over 94% of teams are playing right now.
Yeah, I was.
And that is under strict COVID protocols. Say again.
I was so excited for Clemson to play FSU last year, and then it just kind of left a sour taste in my mouth because Clemson was going out there supposed to play FSU, and then FSU lifts the trophy like 30 minutes later because of the COVID cancellation. So you got to be thinking about that too.
That was strange.
It was such a weird dynamic, just waking up expecting to play, and then I can't even imagine how weird it was for the players. And then 30 minutes later, they're lifting the trophy on the court, and they just gifted it to them.
Yeah, I was there covering it. I was there covering it for TigerNet. It was one of the strangest things I've ever seen, and obviously nobody's ever seen anything like it. So,
yeah,
rare company. Yes, it's going to happen. I think there's too much at stake. I think you need for it to happen. I think the players need for it to happen. I think the universities need for it to happen. I think everybody wants this to happen. I don't see how it doesn't.
They wouldn't be this far into the season, in my opinion, without any major cancellations or outbreaks if they weren't planning to play in the postseason, that being ACC, all the rest of the conferences, and NCAA. So I think whether there's a system devised of a bubble or something along those lines.
Well, it's a natural bubble anyway, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they're all in Greensboro. They're all in the same, the hotels, so I don't know what the protocols will be, but they will find a way to get it done. I'm fully confident.
I don't see how.
They're much more prepared a year down the road than they were when everything was getting thrown on.
And nobody knew what was happening. It was all so scary. It was all so much. The ACC tournament's going to happen.
Yeah.
I hope it happens. It should happen. I'm 99% sure. The only thing I'm curious about is if a team comes down with a couple of cases during the tournament, what happens?
Are you going to postpone or are you going to forfeit? Because those teams are playing for their life, especially
right.
what if someone makes a run that wasn't expected, like Georgia Tech.
Boston College. He will get his job saved.
Yeah, if they make it even to the final.
Yeah.
And what if they make the semis somehow and they come down with a COVID case? You can't just throw in the towel, but then you got to wait out 7 days. I don't know. There's just a lot going into it. And I hope that everyone can stay healthy so every team can play to their fullest ability.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm sure it'll be fine. Yes, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Tigers do play Duke, though.
Yeah.
Give me your quick scouting report.
My scouting report on Duke would be you have to shoot better than 20% from three because of the shot quality you're going to get. I feel like Clemson has a chance to get a lot of open shots in this game and have a bounce back of sorts on offense. Duke's guards are not very good defensively, in my opinion. Matthew Hurt got eaten alive last year in the Clemson game by Amir. Ended up just riding pine for pretty much the entire second half of the game. He had 3 fouls in 8 minutes of play.
And he struggled with Tevin Mack, too.
And he struggled big time with Tevin. Tevin was eating him alive as well. So I think this is a team Clemson can score a lot of points on, but I think that the defense, you're not going to see a game similarly paced to Louisville. This game's going to be played in the 60s and 70s because that's where all of Duke's games have been played, in that high 60s to low 70s mark. My prediction would be I think Clemson wins a close game. But if I want to be realistic about what's going to happen, we know what happens up there on Tobacco Road. Clemson's not going to get a lot of help, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, they haven't been but Duke hasn't been getting that kind of help this year.
It's because there's no fans. There's no fans to ride the refs.
I'm going to apologize for this to begin with. It looks a lot better in person. You can actually see who they've played. So I can read that down for you if it comes to that. But this Duke team lost 3 in a row just like Clemson did. At Virginia Tech, at Pittsburgh, at Louisville. They've gone through some of those same things. Both teams not really guarding. And Clemson's back to guarding right now. Duke will score a lot of points. Starting it off with this guy with a great beard, but only on the sides of his chin. Matthew Hurt, 19 points a game, 8 rebounds, does a lot of good things offensively, but defensively, like we said earlier, traffic cone. You're going to be able to attack this zone that Duke plays. It's a 3-2 zone with Jalen Johnson Hurt on the bottom. You're going to be able to attack Hurt's side of the court to get a lot of easy buckets and really attack the rim. Clemson's going to need to find ways to attack the rim against this Duke team.
And I would love to see Amir Sims get a lot of paint touches on Matthew Hurt because I think that they're instantly going to realize they need to double, and that's going to lead to an open shot. And if I'm reading your graphic correctly, I would like to also vouch that this looks better in person than it does on the camera.
It does look better in person.
I think it might be a little bright or something is the problem, but I can definitely read it out. If I'm reading that graph correctly, Duke is undefeated in conference at home. They're 3-0, and then they're 1-3 on the road, if I'm reading that correctly.
You are reading that correctly.
So Clemson is looking to go up there and beat Duke for the first time all year at home in conference.
Yeah, that'll be tough, but they don't guard. Clemson is going to have to shoot it, but you need to establish the inside first. Please establish the inside
Go to
first.
Amir
Don't
early.
start shooting threes right out of the gate. Go to Amir Sims early and let the three play off of that. It does look bad on it. It does look bad on the screen. We're just going to leave it at that. But I will say this. DJ Stewart has gotten better. Over 13 points a game. He's shooting 42% from the field, 32. Okay numbers. A lot of shot attempts, 13 points a game, 13 points a game. Solid guard, not a physically mature guard. Probably somebody that's going to need to stay more than 1 year.
Yeah, he needs to get his body NBA ready, but you can definitely tell that he has NBA potential at some point, whether that be next year or 2 years down the road. And not excited as a Clemson fan that a guy with his talent is going to be coming back for multiple years, because usually you play someone once at Duke and you can just get them out of there like Zion, Reddish, and Barrett. But they've got a couple guys on this team that I think are going to be uber talented that stay multiple years.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Matthew Hurt obviously scores a ton of points, shoots great percentages. This is the guy that you need to watch out for because he creates so much for the rest of his teammates. Somebody who can get downhill, get into the paint, find teammates. He is a really special talent, an elite athlete, and he's starting to shoot the ball better. 31% from three. I didn't expect him to shoot that high for this season. 61 from the free throw line, right at 13 points a game, 7.5 rebounds, and his assist numbers have jumped up since returning. At Cameron's always tough, but this is a Clemson team that can win because they have young guards, or Duke has young guards that you're going to be able to pressure. This is not an elite guard team like some of the past three, or in the past three losses. And I think Clemson could bother these guys and create some turnovers even up there. Now you are going to have to stay out of foul trouble, but Clemson's depth, if it's used, Clemson's depth is going to be a major factor in this game, Faxon.
I mean, this team doesn't shoot the ball overly well for a team that scores a lot of points either. So it's going to be interesting to see what Clemson chooses to do on defense. I mean, Hurt is shooting ridiculous from three. This dude's an offensive menace. But when you go down the list, Seward's 32 from three, Johnson's 31, Roach is at 21% from three, which is not great. Goldwire's at 34, and then you got Moore at 25, and those are the really only consistent rotation pieces. So, I mean, from the three-point line, you got to worry about Hurt, and then Goldwire and Johnson and Stewart are all in that low 30s range, and then Roach has just been really bad this year from three. So it should be interesting to see. And also, Wendell Moore has not been good this year.
I don't know where he's been. It's been difficult to watch. And he does a lot of good things for his team, but this year last year he did a lot of good things for his team, but this year he just hasn't been able to get going, Faxon.
He's at 33% from the field, 25% from deep, and this was like top 10 recruit in the nation. And you can tell how talented he is just out there. He just can't get it clicking. Kind of reminds me of Chase Hunter a little bit for the Tigers. He just can't seem to get that one last click in, to put all the talent together.
I thought Wendell Moore was an Andre Iguodala prototype. I thought it was the same guy, somebody who doesn't shoot it great but does a lot of things. But Iguodala shot it a lot better than he did. I mean, there's some issues there. He's got to pick up his performance if he hopes to continue to play at a high level and after college. But he's going to be somebody that sticks around for 4 years, I think, because he's just dug himself in too big of a hole.
Yeah. So
anything else on Duke?
No. What is your prediction for this game? Do you think Clemson gets a win?
If they play defense like they did and they hit shots, that's the biggest key for Clemson. It's the biggest key for them all year. It's been the biggest key this year and last year. Are you going to show up with the effort that you had last night against Louisville? Are you going to show up and hit shots? And are you going to establish an inside presence early? You have to do that against Duke because this is not a typical team with a big five. Mark Williams will play some at 7'1", but he doesn't play a lot. Patrick Tepe, he's not a Duke player. He's a Columbia grad transfer. It's not the same. This isn't a big physical Duke team. You are going to be able to score inside, but you got to get in there. And you predict the win.
I think I'm going to say 72-67 Tigers.
Ooh, I like that. So you think Tigers score 72 points?
I don't think this Duke team is good defensively, and I think they're going to be able to play at the pace they want to. I think Clemson makes 10 or 11 threes and gets it done. Hopefully this is the breakout game for the Tigers offense. I'm being optimistic. I feel a lot better about this team after yesterday, even though it was ugly, than I did maybe even a week ago. I think you could see, Amir ate this team alive last year as well as Tevin, and Amir's played well in every game against Duke in his career. I think you could see Amir get 25 on Saturday. I think you could.
Got to shoot it.
Yeah.
Got to shoot it well. So that's the only thing that scares me is you have to make sure that he's in there. He's in there getting shots at the beginning of the game. Let me scoot over here so you can see the logo. In fact, I think we're good. we have any other questions
Yeah,
on Facebook, anything
I think we're
like
good
that?
at questions. We ran through all of them.
We ran through all of them. Guys, thank you so much for sending the questions, and I want to thank you for watching Beyond 22 Basketball. Sorry for the little mix-up at the beginning. We'll be all right. We're going to continue to hopefully grow this podcast /show /Facebook show /YouTube show, whatever you want to call it. But thank you so much for tuning in. My name's Terrence Oglesby from my main man, Facts and Childress, who always